Hey, what's up, my little monsters? It's me. Welcome back to my channel where we tell all sorts of different mythological tales from various cultures all around the world. Today we're going to be exploring the Greek god children. Now, in the last episode, we talked about Hades, god of the dead, and his very messy, chaotic, and very much unwanted romance with Persephone, the goddess of spring. And because that story was so popular, I figured we would talk a little bit more about some of the other Greek gods and their children, but fair warning before we get started, some of these stories can be a little bit dark, so bear with me. Who do you think is the most powerful god in Greek mythology? Is it Zeus, king of the Olympians? Poseidon, god of the seas? Maybe Hades, god of the dead? Well, if you guessed Zeus, you'd be right. Kinda. See, Zeus wasn't always the supreme leader of the Olympians. That position was passed down to him by his father, the previous king of the cosmos, Cronus. You see, Cronus was a titan, a member of the first divine race, and he was warned by his mother Gaia, the personification of the earth, that one day his son would usurp him, just like he usurped his own father. And seeing as how Cronus didn't exactly have the best track record when it came to keeping his children, he decided to eat each of his kids as they were born, thereby ensuring that none of them could grow up and take over. But his wife, Rhea, saved their youngest son Zeus by tricking Cronus into swallowing a stone wrapped in swaddling instead. Then she took Zeus to a cave on the island of Crete and hid him there until he was old enough to overthrow his father. Okay, now I could go into more detail about that, but I kinda already covered it in the last video. Anyway, after Cronus was defeated and the cosmos were realigned, Zeus began to rule the universe along with his brothers Poseidon and Hades, who he made ruler of the underworld, by the way. Now, while I do not recommend looking up all of these names at this point in the timeline, because things are going to get confusing really fast, there are two more siblings of Zeus that you should know about, Hera and Demeter, goddesses of marriage and family and the harvest and the seasons, respectively. Now, like I said, there are so many Olympians, it's hard to keep track of everyone, but just remember that these five were the most important. And since the children of these five are the ones that we'll be talking about today, so now that we have all that out of the way, let's get into it. First up, we have Ares, god of war, violence, and bloodshed. He was the son of Zeus and Hera, and he was widely disliked by both of his parents, not only because he was conceived as the result of an affair between Zeus and the goddess of discord Eris, but also because he inherited his uncle's insatiable bloodlust. In fact, Homer described him as being hated even by the gods. Because of this, Ares spent most of his time hanging out in the giant city of Thera, where he had a temple built in his honor, and he could be worshipped freely without the fear of divine retribution. Next, we have Athena, goddess of wisdom, courage, inspiration, civilization, law, and justice. Funnily enough, she actually popped out of Zeus's head fully grown after he swallowed his first wife, the Titan Metis, who was the mother of the first generation of Olympians. And even though Athena wasn't technically a child in the traditional sense, I still think it's important to mention her here because she was probably the only Olympian who wasn't the product of some sort of messy affair. Moving on, we have Apollo, god of music, arts, knowledge, healing, plague, poetry, light, the sun, and so much more. Yes, he has a lot of domains. To say that Apollo was a skilled musician would be an understatement. He was literally the patron god of music, and his talent was such that it drove the Python, a giant serpent that guarded the Oracle of Delphi, insane. So, he did what any reasonable god would do and killed it. After that, he built an altar on the mountain where it happened and became the god most associated with the sanctuary of Delphi, which was the most important religious center in all of Greece. And lastly, we have Artemis, goddess of the hunt, wild animals, wilderness, childbirth, and the moon. She was the twin sister of Apollo and daughter of Zeus and the Titaness Leto. From the time she was born, Artemis was a fierce and independent spirit who hated being confined. So when she was just 7 years old, she convinced her father to let her live out the remainder of her days in the forest, accompanied only by her hunting dogs and a small retinue of nymphs. So that's just a quick rundown of a few of the Greek gods and their children. If you liked this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Also, if you have any video suggestions, leave those down below too. Until next time, remember John shot first.